Hey, what's going on, channel? This is Gnome Grown Gardens, although I think we're going to be switching the name over to Tropical Ding Dong Lifestyles here in a minute. Giving you a little bit of a garden tour and an update. Lots been happening since the last time I gave you an update, but we just turned the corner into our winter rainy season. We've had maybe 3 or 4 showers in the past 10 days of about a 1/4 inch or more. So it's starting to come in, which is just great for the gardens and for all of our projects. So we're gonna start here. This is our original vanilla vine, the first one that we got. It's about 3 years established at this point, and you can see that it's just gone absolutely bonkers. We've got about 8 growing tips at this point, and while we didn't get vanilla this year, we also didn't tip and we didn't drought stress. So the focus right now has been on vegetation and just getting lots of vegetation and establishing the plant really well. You can see it's just doing excellently. Got some garden hose thick vines in here, so it's just an absolute crushinator of a vine, and really looking forward to tipping it this year, as well as subjecting it to probably maybe 3 to 4 weeks of drought stress to initiate flowering, and we should get a very healthy amount of vanilla off of that vine. Now, that specimen was collected in Haleiwa, so coming this way, we've been continuing to propagate and grow our vanilla supply. So I actually shut down our little nursery operation. I don't think it was being very effective. I think it was just too shady in this spot for the amount of shade cover that I'm offering these plants. But one of the things we've been focusing on a lot recently is trying to build and increase our overall understanding of how vanilla grows, what it takes to grow vanilla, and how to be effective as farmers here. So on the left on this table, we have 2 experiments going. So on the left, we have an experiment we're doing in partnership with Screaming Gecko Vanilla. And then on the right, we've got an experiment that we've been running now for almost 2 or 3 months. So this experiment on the left was established about 6-7 weeks ago, and is really focused on understanding some observed differences we saw between Screaming Gecko's vanilla operation and ours. They just weren't being as successful in establishing cuttings. So we went out together and got some plant material that we could share. We then split up the plant material, potted it up into the same substrate, gave it the same fertility, did the same series of treatments. One of the things we're comparing here is node length. So you can see the tags here say TD2N2, so that's Tropical Ding Dong, 2 nodes, replicate 2. And the other consideration that we're bringing into play here is weather station. So we got a weather station right there, you can kind of see it. Screaming Gecko Vanilla also got the same weather station. So we're keeping track of factors like humidity, temperature, wind speed, rainfall. And what we're really trying to develop here is a growing degree day model for vanilla. Vanilla is just wildly understudied. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that we can look at that can really help us develop our understanding as growers, and understanding how the plant responds to temperature, humidity, etc. is really going to be key to that. Over here on the right, this is an experiment we started quite a while ago, 4 or 5 months ago. And this is really looking at the relationship between node length and how you plant a vanilla vine. So we had 2 treatments here. We had kind of what we call the northern style 2N3. That's the tag ID right here for this one. And then we had Australian style 4A4. And what this is we invert or we don't invert the direction that the cutting was planted. You'll notice vanilla is just totally apically dominant. It only wants to go up. It does not want to go sideways. It does not want to go down. So one of the considerations in this experiment was basically, can we get a more vigorous cutting by planting upside down? Or what are the impacts of planting upside down? I would say right now the results are inconclusive at best. We were not consistent in being able to get what I would call like a soil-borne establishment from the Australian style of planting, because here's a perfect example of that going the opposite direction. This is a 2N5 So 2 nodes, the 5th replicate, and then you can see here, this one actually emerged from the soil, which was the goal of the Australian style cutting. So we've actually started to plant these vines out. We're going to plan on continuing this experiment for a couple more years. So there's a whole bunch of sites around the property now. Holy chicken damage, what have you done? Looks like a rooster chicken got in here and dug at the base of this vanilla vine. I'm going to have to put some rocks down there. But you see here, we're extending the experiment. We're actually going to plant these out. This is a complete random block design. So each one of these blocks is a complete set of randomized replicates. And, it'll take a couple, we've got a stopping mark for each plant. So once they're ready to go, they'll ship completely and we'll plant them out. So beyond that, I'm continuing to expand the amount of the Pahoa variety. So all of this that you see in these pots here, these half gallons, this is Pahoa stock from Evening Rain Farms out in Pahoa. And this is all the material that I pulled from our nursery. So what's interesting is a lot of these vines were some of the original vines that grew the fastest, and those were the ones I intended to use for nursery stock. But the nursery setup I had, I think, was just too shady. And, we were kind of growing them against the will of the plant. This plant wants to grow up. It does not want to grow sideways. And so the plan at this point is just to take them out as cuttings, build them up into, get them planted out under a panel and take it from there. I don't really think it's necessary at this point to try to manage a true nursery stock. How you going? How you going, Himalaya? You look like you're fighting demons there. You all right? You all right, Himalaya? Ah, she's fine. Hey, what's up, kid? All right. So moving along. This is the Haleiwa stock. We're finally at the point where it's at the top of the panel here. So this system, the intention is that we'll grow the vines up the trellis, and then we're going to go diagonal down the trellis like this. And we're going to try to get as much downhill time for the vines as we can relative to the amount of uphill time that it takes to get them to the top. So, the goal here is to end up with a system, right? We're not necessarily trying to just grow vanilla for the sake of growing it. We want to be in production. And one of the key limiting factors I see to being effective at production is, the time it takes to move from vine to vine, the time it takes to do pollination and harvesting and management. And so in my thinking, making that as easy as possible for yourself so that it's just kind of trivial is really the goal. And this Pahoa stock, it represents about 40% of our planted material at this point. It's been incredibly vigorous, like shockingly vigorous. And this is one of the reasons why we initiated that experiment with Screaming Gecko Farms, was that they were just seeing very different results in their plantings of Pahoa from us. Now, there's a lot of factors involved with that. They are much closer to the ocean than we are. There's, a conversation we've been having about the impacts of salt spray on how that is affecting their starts. However, their established plants look fine. So they have very fast draining soil, but they do have kind of a constant sea mist coming onto their properties. So hopefully this experiment we're running on that new Kaala stock will help us understand that. So yeah, you can see here another panel of the Pahoa stock, absolutely crushing it. Things have slowed down a tiny bit as the rains came in. It does seem like there is a little bit of a lag effect due to temperature, like maybe we passed a threshold. One of the things we're not doing yet that we need to start doing is regular counts on number of nodes and on established cuttings to see if there's any kind of variety differences in how they respond to temperature. But yeah, beyond that, everything's pumped. Everything looks good. Vanillas are growing excellently. We've been getting a great lilikoi harvest. I haven't found any yet today. And things are just rocking right along. So This update was mostly for you, morning or evening rain farms, and we'll keep the channel going and keep this blog going. And you know, I'm not expecting a ton of subscribers. I don't really care. It's just about keeping a record of what we're doing and learning from that, and having some kind of a story to tell about how we got to where we are. So catch you later, Nomies. We're probably going to be changing the branding to Tropical Ding Dong soon, but don't trip, we're still the same people. So catch you later and stay gnome grown. Adios.